Hi everyone, welcome to the Bioinformatics Coach channel. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use trim-galore to trim reads. For those who don't know, trim-galore is a tool for trimming reads. So when you visit this page, you can read more about trim-galore and you can also look at how it is used. Okay, so that's what we are basically going to do. So I'm going to show you how to set it up, i.e. install, and also how to use it. We will use an example dataset from this page to demonstrate how trim-galore can be used. Okay, so the link to this page is in the description box, as well as this page, and basically all the necessary information you need, all those useful pages, I'll leave them in the description box. So let's proceed. So for this tutorial, we are going to first install trim-galore. We will use conda to do that. So make sure you have conda or mamba or macro mamba installed. All right, so I have tutorials that show how to install conda, mamba, and macro mamba. So just make sure to check the description box and you can find those videos to set up your PC and we can proceed. So this makes things easier for us. So I'll use a slightly modified version of this command to install trim-galore. There's also another example here. So I'll just make sure I use one which you can follow. So just make sure to reproduce this tutorial using the commands I'm going to use. So without further ado, let's get started. So I'll move to the terminal and then I will start. All right. So what we are going to do first is to create an environment and install the tools. We are using trim-galore. And take note, with trim-galore, it also requires Fastqc and then cut-adapt. So you need to make sure if you are using a different approach to install, make sure you have those tools also installed. Okay, we are using conda, so it's straightforward. So let's get to the terminal and then let's start. So what we are going to do first is to create the environment. I'm using mamba. If you have conda, you just have to use conda. If you have micro mamba, you have to use macro mamba. All right. I'm using mamba because it's fast. So I'll just say mamba create -n bioinformatics. So this is the name of the environment. Then I'll say -c to specify a channel. I'll say -c conda coach. Then I'll indicate the tool or tools. In this case, trim-galore. So it's trim-galore. I'll also add Fastqc just to be sure. Okay, so this is the command I'll use to set up my system. So I'll execute this command. And then after that, I'll wait for mamba to do its work. So this will not take much time. So we just have to wait for everything to get done for us. All right. So now I'll type Y for yes. And once I do that, all the necessary packages will be downloaded. I repeat, all the necessary packages will be downloaded and installed for us. Okay. So it's quick. It has been done. So now what we have to do is to check how to run the tool. So to do that on my system, it tells me I have to run mamba activate bioinformatics. If you use conda, you'll see conda here. If you use macro mamba, you'll see macro mamba here. So take note of whichever one that has been printed on the screen for you. Now I'll clear the screen and I'll activate the environment. So I'll say mamba activate bioinformatics. Straightforward. Now I'll type trim_galore. If you are running, it's trim_galore. So just type it and then you'll see some text coming on the screen. Everything is okay. All right. So now we are ready to go. Perfect. Now let's do this. Let's proceed with the downloading of the example datasets. Okay. Of course, there's a project, and so before we even download the example datasets, we need to make sure we have created our directory. So I'll say make dir and I'll say trimming. Then I'll cd into trimming. Perfect. So now I have my project directory and I'm in it. So now what I have to do next is to download the example datasets. I'll clear the screen first to make sure everything is okay. And then I'll proceed to get the example dataset. So let's go back to the browser I'll show you where to download the dataset. So come to this page. The link to this page is also in the description box. So when you are here, I want you to scroll down to this section. It says data upload. You can also scroll down further, or you can just click this data upload. It will send you to that section. So when we are here, scroll down, and we are going to find these ones here. You see, there is this and there is this. We want the smaller one, which is the subsampled one. We are going to take the first two. We are dealing with paired and read, so we need the read 1, read 2. So these are the ones we are going to take. So I'll start with the first one. I'll copy the link. I'll go to the terminal and then I'll download. I'm using Linux, by the way. So I'll say wget and I'll paste the link there. And I'll run it. So this is a small file, so we just have to wait for it to get done and we can get the read 2. All right, read 1 is done, so we need to get the read 2. So let's go back to the page and let's copy, and then let's go back, wget, and we supply it with the link. So there's read 2. So we run it and then we will get our files. Okay, so we have our files. Let's clear the screen. Let's ls, and we are going to find our files here. These are reads, all right? Because we are also going to trim, we need to make sure we organize our files. So these are raw reads, all right? So let's create a directory called raw reads. And then let's move these files there. So I'll say mv star.fastqc sanga, and I'll say raw reads. So now if I do an ls, I'll see my directory raw reads. If I ls into it, I'm going to find my files. All right. These are the raw reads. It's important we run Fastqc to assess the quality, and then we can now compare to the trimming so that we are all on the same page. So let's first run Fastqc. It's always important to run Fastqc to assess the quality first. Okay. In some situations, when you run, it will be okay. So you don't need to do further processing. All right. In some cases, you run, it will do further processing. All right. For this tutorial and the context of this tutorial, we are only going to compare before and after trimming. So that's why we are running Fastqc. So I'll say Fastqc raw reads star.fastqc sanga. I can also do just star. That is fine. This will also run all the files. All right. But if you have different kinds of files in a directory, then this is where the extension comes in. So in my case, I will be specific. I'll say star.fastqc sanga. I repeat, the star also works in this situation. Okay. So I'll run this, and then Fastqc will take the files and analyze them. These are small files, so it will take less than a minute. It's done. Let's clear the screen. Let's ls into raw reads. We will find our Fastqc report. So we have an HTML file and a zip file for each. That's what we have. So I want us to open the HTML file and then look at the reports. So we will use our file manager. So raw reads, I'll go into it. I'll see my HTML file. So this and this. I'll open the read 1. So there's it. Okay, so there's read 1. So everything seems okay. And we have these two exclamation marks telling us something slightly unusual has happened. Anyhow, for this tutorial, I want us to focus on the per sequence quality. I want us to see the effect that trim-galore will have after trimming. So I want us to look at the per base sequence quality. For Illumina reads, the quality of the reads, all right, it starts deteriorating at the ends of the reads. So that is why here we see this change. It's deteriorating. It's becoming lower and lower. All right. So in some cases, you may want to trim and remove. You may want to trim the ends. All right, to remove those low quality ends. Okay, those low quality bases at the end. So that's what we are going to do in this tutorial, to use trim-galore to show an example of trimming. All right, so we are going to trim, and after that we are going to compare the quality, the overall quality of the data, of the reads before and after trimming. So this is for read 1. Let's look at read 2. We have a similar observation. So again, we see that at the ends, the quality is low. So we are going to trim the reads. We are going to trim, and then after that, we will remove those low quality ends. That's what we are basically going to do. Okay, so that's where trim-galore also comes in. So we will run trim-galore now. So we'll go back to the terminal, and then we'll run trim-galore. Of course, if you are going to run trim-galore, you need to make sure you know the usage, you know how to use it. So on this page, we have instructions that let you know how to use trim-galore. So we have quality trimming, adapter trimming. There are other ones here. Okay, so in this tutorial, we are going to use a very simple command. Okay, because for beginners, you need to start something simple and you can gradually build upon it. It's a demonstration. So we are going to trim with some simple commands, and then after that, you will proceed to customize. So with trim-galore, there are different options available. When you scroll down, you see them here. Let's just check. Full list of options for trim-galore. So when you check the options, it depends on your needs, then you select the appropriate options. Some of the options have default values. For example, if you want to trim the low quality ends, the default first score is 20. So if you want to go higher or lower, you can modify. If you don't specify anything, then trim-galore uses 20. We also have the thread. We have thread 33, which is the default. We have thread 64. If you want to specify that, fine. There are other options, adapter, different ones. For adapter, I'll focus on adapter for now. For adapter, if you don't specify anything, then trim-galore will try to auto-detect and then trim those adapters. So in this tutorial, we are going to use the default settings, which is allowing trim-galore to auto-detect. That's what we will do. There are other options too here. Another option we will look at is the outputs directory, where we are going to save our files, our trimmed reads, and then we will specify another information. We are dealing with paired end reads, so we need to let trim-galore know. Okay, so that's it. And then we specify the read 1, read 2. Okay, so let's get back to our terminal, and then let's do this. We have our Fastqc files, read 1, read 2, and so this means we are dealing with paired end reads. And so if you want to use trim-galore to trim the reads, you call trim-galore underscore galore, and we will specify that dash paired, and then we give the options. All right. It's also important that because we are going to trim, you need to have a separate directory that will store the trimmed reads. It's very, very important. So if we do an ls, you have our raw reads, we need to get that directory also created, then we can proceed. So I'll say make dir trimmed reads. So the trimmed reads, this is where we are going to store the trimmed reads. Okay, so now we can run trim-galore for trimming. So we will say trim underscore galore dash paired. And then I will say dash kill quality. I will just specify 20. It's the default. So if you don't specify, 20 will be used, but I'll just specify it here. All right. And then we need dash O for output directory. So here is going to be trimmed reads. We need that information. Other information that we can specify is dash base name. Of course, in this tutorial, I'll skip it, but it's important you know that. So the base name, let me just show you. It should be somewhere here. So it should be here. Let's scroll down. We have the base name here. Yeah, so base name allows you to customize the names, the output file names. Okay, so if you want to customize, you can use it. In this tutorial, I will skip it. We also have course, which allows you to speed up the trimming process. I'll also skip this for now because it's a small file. So all these things are there for you to check them later. If you also want more tutorials, you can always book a session with me. That's fine. Okay, the link is in the description box. Okay, now let's get back. So we have this, all right? This is what we are going to use. And then we specify the read one, read two. So read one, so that will be raw reads, and then we specify the file, which is this one here. And then read two. So we give the path, which is raw reads. This is read two. So this becomes the command I will use for trimming, all right? So once we do this, we can execute, and when we execute, trim-galore will start doing its work. So this is what we are going to see. And of course, once it's doing its work, it also indicates reports. So it tells you what has been done. So we have the report indicated here. Okay, so you can save this to an output file, all right? And for the most part, all these ones have already been saved. So there's a file which contains this, all right? So take notes. These things are important if you want to go deeper into what has been done to your data, your files. For example, here we see total read process, read with adapters, number. So these things allow you to better understand what has been done. And then it can also help you to identify potential issues. That's the essence of quality control. All right, so just take note of that. Now let's clear the screen. When we ls, we have our trend reads, ls into it, and we are going to find your output. So we have the reports, the ones that were displayed on the screen, and we also have the trend reads themselves. You notice that the same sample names have been used. Okay, the raw reads had their sample names, so the same names that have been used in addition to other names to help us distinguish between the raw reads and the trim reads. So this is for the reports for read one. So I can do a cut. It's a simple text file. So I can say cut trim reads. I can specify that one here. So trim reads one. So Fastqc Sanga trim. Yeah, so there's it. So there's the file. You can do a cut to display the contents. All right, so let's clear the screen. Let's ls into trimmed and then proceed. You can also view this using your text editor. That's fine. All right, and we have our Fastqc files, which are this and then this. Again, you can customize the names. That is subject for another video. Okay, so now we are going to run Fastqc on the trim reads and we can compare to see the effects. All right, so I will say Fastqc trim reads star.fq. Now the extensions are .fq, so that's why I'm saying star.fq. So I'll run this and then Fastqc will analyze the files for us and then we can compare. Okay, so this is also done. Let's clear the screen. Let's do an ls into trimmed reads and we are going to see our Fastqc reports. We have them here. So what I'm going to do is to go back. So this is my main project directory. So there's the trend reads. When I open it, I'll see my HTML files. So I'll start with read one, which is this one. I'm going to shift it to this session so that we have the two read ones adjacent to each other. Okay, so now this is the raw reads. The raw data, and this is the trimmed one. You can see there has been a change. Let me enlarge this a bit. So if we take a look at this session here, for read one, we see everything here, right? we see that there has been a change, which I would say is improvement. So those low quality ends have been removed. So now we see that they are within the green region. All right, so just as we see here in the trim-galore page, all right, we see after trimming, we see them, there has been some improvement. So the same thing here with read 1, we see that there has been an improvement because those low quality ends have been removed. So if you run your QC, Fastqc, and then you'll see that the low quality ends are there. You find a presence of low quality, or you find a presence of reads with low quality ends. Then one of the strategies is to improve your reads by trimming those low quality ends to remove those bases. Okay, and then you can proceed. So you need to decide which situation is appropriate, or you can consult your bioinformatician, and then they will help you to, or guide you to do the appropriate activity. Okay, so this is for trim-galore tutorial. And so if you also have multiple samples, then what you want to do is to write a script that allows you to automate the process. All right, so you can use tools like Nestflow and then SnakeMate, which are workflow managers, to help you automate the process. If you have multiple paired and samples, that will help you. Or you can also book a session with me and we can look at that as well. All right. With Fastqc, it's also good if you are able to aggregate them. We have reports. Now we have a total of 4 reports, 2 for the raw rates, 2 for the trim rates. So ideally, it becomes easier for you if you can put all these reports into a single report and then compare them and easily compare. So there's a tool called MultiQC that allows you to do that. So if you want to learn how to aggregate Fastqc reports using MultiQC, then check the video right here.